I'm Kim Kirk, and we're on number 3 of the 10 things I learned from the fall. Here's what we've seen so far. Questioning God's goodness leads to temptation. When we add anything to God's word, we're in trouble. And today we'll see that lingering is dangerous. How many times have we been pulled towards something that we shouldn't see or we shouldn't do, and we knew that if we stayed, we'd succumb, but we stayed anyway and then suffered the consequences? That's what happened to Eve in the garden. Not only did she listen to the serpent and engage in conversation with him, but she stood in front of the very thing she should have avoided, and she didn't just look at it, she evaluated it. How many times do we do that instead of just believing what God has to say about it? Eve went as far as to list the benefits of this tree and its forbidden fruit in Genesis 3, verse 6. So when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, that it was a delight to the eyes, and that the tree was desired to make one wise, she took of its fruit and ate. John sums these three things up in this way in 1 John 2, verse 16. For all that is in the world, the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life is not of the Father, but is of the world. These are the three things that motivate our sin as well. Lust of the flesh. This speaks of anything that feeds our physical appetites. It can be food or sex or anything that fuels our flesh. Lust of the eyes. This isn't just looking, it's looking at something that we shouldn't be looking at, that we can't have, longingly and wanting it. This has to do with covetousness. And then the pride of life. For Eve in the garden, it was wisdom. It was gaining wisdom. It was knowing more. It was being in the know. It was being like God. And we know that knowledge is power and can be a very serious draw in our lives. But what knowledge, what wisdom was she specifically promised by the serpent? It's recorded in Genesis 3:5. For God knows that when you eat of it, your eyes will be open and you will be like God, knowing good and evil. So much of our sin is rooted in wanting to be like God, in wanting to run our own lives and call the shots for ourselves and for our family, in wanting to be the one who decides what's good and what's bad, what we can do and what we can't do. But there was more. It had to do with knowing good from evil. Now, this wasn't a lie. That was going to happen, but it wasn't something God was hiding from them. After all, it was called the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. The deception here was that up to this point, they only knew good. So eating of that tree would actually harm them because it would expose them to evil, something that would be around them, that would be within them, something they'd have to fight against. And we need to fight against still to this day. It's the same with us. Ignorance, when it comes to something we shouldn't have or we shouldn't see or we shouldn't do, is bliss. Because once we've exposed ourselves to it, then we will have lustful desires that we probably never entertained before. Lingering is dangerous. Instead, we are told to flee from the things that pull us. 1 Corinthians 10:13 says, no temptation has seized you except what is common to man, and God is faithful. He will not let you be tempted beyond what you can bear, but when you are tempted, He will also provide a way out so you can stand up under it. That's what we must do. We have to stop lingering and instead run. Feel free to check out my website if you missed any of these segments or if you want to revisit them, or my YouTube page. And I hope that you'll come back tomorrow for more encouragement from the Word.